Evening or how is everybody? How is everybody on a Wednesday? Wednesday tea time mix. Or is it tea time mix? 6 o'clock here in the UK. I hope everybody is well. If you're listening on the radio, welcome. If you're listening on podcast, welcome too. I'm just waiting for Stacey to come back because she's having some sound problems and we can get underway. Dun, 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 dun. Hello.
Can you hear me, Steve?
I can hear you now. Yeah, I can hear you now.
Okay. Let me get it somewhere. Okay, I think I can hear you.
That's better. That's better.
All
Don't do
right.
anything. Just don't do anything.
Okay.
How are you? How are you anyway?
I am great. How about you?
I'm okay, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Been busy. Um, now, what have you been up to lately? Are you still doing your martial art?
I am totally still doing martial arts. Yes, I do Tai Chi and Wing Chun. Basically, all throughout the week, I think I have one day off or we're not training. So I stay really busy with that. Um, and working on some different projects for people with stress relieving techniques. And I think the last time we talked a lot about that and also different programs for women. And one of the things that I'm really excited about, and that is the fight against human trafficking.
Yes, and that's what I really want to talk to you about today.
Right.
Okay, so what do you think? See, there's a lot of human trafficking going on. I interviewed a woman the other day. You know, she was she got um, she got kidnapped, and and what happened was they kind of held her out in this house and everything. They drugged her up. They had sex with her, right? And and they've done everything else. What do you think about human trafficking? Do you think the government in the government are doing enough to kind of like stop this or to deal with it?
I think we need a lot more. Obviously, we need a lot more. I'm sorry to hear about what happened to your person who you were talking to. Human trafficking is a huge, huge issue. There are estimates that it's about a huge amount, $150 billion business in the world today. So it's a large nut to crack. It's huge. If you look at statistics with the United Nations and the international um, organizations like the labor organization or any of those, they talk about statistics being, just there's statistics all over the world that are a little bit differing, possibly because each country has different laws regarding trafficking and different ways of categorizing the trafficking. For example, in places where there is trafficking with forced marriages, they consider that labor, or say in prostitution where they're forced into prostitution, women and girls, they consider that forced labor rather than sex trafficking. And other people call it sex trafficking, so other countries. So there's a lot of variety in the statistics, but basically kind of a consensus of the 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 situation and the um, way that trafficking is happening today is just huge. It probably is about 40 million cases each year. or at this time, let's say at any given moment. So you have 40 million people being trafficked. It's estimated probably half of those are actually forced labor, and half of them are, sexual, in sexual trade or trafficking. And a lot of those, the majority, of course, are women and children, which is just absolutely unbelievable. But to answer your question again, there's not enough being done. And part of it, I truly believe, is that there is not enough information out there. It's not in front of the public. If people really knew how much of this is going on, and sometimes people think this only happens in third world countries. Well, that's not true at all. It's everywhere, including where I am in the United States. It's where you are. It's where everyone is. And so it touches the lives of so many people in so many ways. But we need a lot more information getting out there in front of people, so people take a stand against it and put that pressure on their governments to do more about it.
Yeah. It's like I was watching something the other day, and about children kind of like being preyed by pedophiles,
Oh,
and being used for sex and everything.
oh yeah, there's a lot of that going on. There are a couple organizations who say, like a decade ago, really started getting involved in helping to publicize what's happening and getting people to work toward the fight against human trafficking, especially with children. Polaris was one. Love 46, that's one of the most beautiful ones. Love 46, they have an incredible story about how they learned about it. And, they also have worked really hard to provide um, help for those victims who are able to be rescued, to give them shelter, to give them love and comfort, support, therapy,
Mm.
training, so that they can, you know, when they leave there in that environment, they have this protective environment and a place to recover. That when they leave there, they have a way to make a living and support themselves.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's really nice that there are people out there providing these kinds of situations, um, and facilities to help people that have been trafficked,
yeah.
especially the kids. I mean, where are they going to go? Especially if they can't find their family now.
That's it.
So,
Um, what I want to do is, Stacey, I want you to watch this video, and I want to warn everybody in this video. If you do not like the video, please switch off. And but this is what's happening at the moment around the world.
sure.
Because the girls are short, put it down on this one so that we can get sort of like the head height and get the faces.
We're just putting on a hidden button camera so we can be doing some filming tonight as we go out looking for kids, and nobody will be able to tell what we're doing.
I'm just a Sparky. I've got no specific skills on this other than, I guess, a heart of a dad.
It's all very secret agent, isn't it?
A little bit.
That's not too bad.
I've come to the Philippines to find out what a former electrician from Queensland is doing working undercover in brothels.
And then we'll pin this one up into here somewhere. It won't matter.
16 years ago, Tony Kerwin founded Destiny Rescue, a Christian charity based in Thailand that helps kids trafficked into prostitution. It's funded by donations, and most of the staff are volunteers.
At any given time, pretty much most nights of the week, we'd have a couple of dozen agents around the world in 6 different countries, kitting themselves up, ready to go out into the brothels to get this sort of stuff on films and get some people arrested and more children rescued.
So I should put on one of these hidden cameras too?
Sounds good, buddy.
All right, let's go.
In a few days' time, Destiny Rescue will be working with local police on the biggest raid it's ever undertaken.
Wow. You'd have no idea that was a different button.
The under-resourced police are grateful for any help, even from a motley crew of Australians with no background in law enforcement.
The compound that we'll be raiding is owned by a retired politician, and he's very well connected. There's going to be somewhere between 150 and 250 children and women there, and we're expecting that there could be anywhere between about 40, 75 of those are going to be children.
Tonight, Tony's offered to show me how they work the bars and gather the evidence to give to local police so they can put the pimps in prison.
So, when you come into a place like this with a guy like me, what's the cover story? Who are we? What are we doing here? We're just developers. We build units or whatever.
For several nights, I immerse myself in a world of sleaze and exploitation.
Let me go lady for you. Right here.
I'm shy.
Ah, okay. I'm gonna introduce to you somebody who is not shy.
Maybe later.
They are not shy.
I've rarely been as uncomfortable as I am hanging out with men who pretend to be pedophiles.
Where's all the young ladies? My friend, they like, I know you're young. I know you're young.
Yeah. You like,
But my friend here likes really young.
oh,
But if it's tough for me to get into character, it was once even tougher for Tony, a devout Christian whose parents didn't even drink alcohol.
I felt awkward even walking into a brothel. Like I felt like, should I even be in here? Like this feels wrong. But at the same time, knowing that if I don't go in, then the kids that are in there are never going to have a chance of getting out.
We're looking for girls a bit younger than this. Getting fussy at the old age.
So how did a tradie from Queensland end up in this line of work?
It was a really simple situation. I actually overheard 2 guys talking, and one guy was saying how there was an American guy going through Bangkok, and he was offered that he could buy children outright for $400 and do whatever he wanted to with them.
Looking for younger girls.
we have her, but we cannot talk here. Yeah.
I'd never heard of people selling people in today's time. So yeah, that's what sparked it.
So how many
How
young girls
many?
do you have?
Maybe 6 or 7.
Prostitution is illegal in the Philippines, and sex workers under the age of 18 are automatically considered trafficking victims.
You have ID?
And we are.
Can I see ID first?
And their pimp can be jailed for life.
This is real?
Yes, sir. We have a thumbnail.
In the last 7 years, we've rescued over 2,500 kids and young adults. And we are having over an 80% success rate of them not returning to the sex trade, which is pretty cool.
This one?
Oh, they're beautiful, yeah. Oh, she looks young.
Yeah, she
UNICEF believes there are up to 100,000 children in the Philippines involved in prostitution. Their traffickers don't require shackles. Poverty, family pressure, and fear are usually enough.
As a Westerner coming into a brothel, you could easily think these girls have big happy faces, they're smiling, they are enjoying themselves, they want to be here. But that's just not the reality. They feel like they have no other choices.
Hopefully, any children they may rescue in the upcoming raid will end up in a place like this.
We had 49 clients as of today. The youngest age is 7 years old until 18 years old. My name is Marlene Capio Richter. I am the Center Manager, Paralegal Officer of Preda Foundation.
The Preda Foundation is a separate charity that rescues and rehabilitates victims of sexual abuse and trafficking.
Let's stop there for a minute. Stace, what can be done? Because I just want to stop there for a sec. Because
Sure.
I was thinking, you know, there's all this human trafficking happening around the world. We just look at that Philippines at the moment, you know, and that's really, really bad. You know, what's going on?
Oh my gosh, it's craziness. Again, I think that being, if this is a true estimate, even approximately of an industry that generates $150 billion a year, this is part of the problem. Part of the problem is that at some point when this really started gaining momentum, it was kind of swept under the carpet. Nobody talked about it. Nothing was being done about it. Finally, they established some task force around the world to address this issue. And so there are things happening in regards to this now, but it is definitely not where it needs to be. Like I mentioned earlier, there are different laws in different countries, and some of the problems with that then include classification of the crimes, whether there is punishment for the crimes, whether it's the same from one place to another. Some places don't even have it. It's not even considered a crime at this time. So
I just don't
it's a
understand
rarity,
that.
but it exists out there.
Yeah,
And
but Stace, the trouble is, though, right? All this is happening, and they say it's legal in the Philippines and in Hong Kong and everything, and all these brothels. Surely, human trafficking needs to kind of like they need to sort something out with human trafficking because you know it takes pedophiles, it takes all sorts of people, you know. And why is it? Why can't the government say, right, we're putting a crackdown on it, and we're going to get rid of all this?
that's right. And I think the again the issue, most change comes about from pressure from its citizens, the world's citizens of the world. So I think it's very important that people take an active participating role in bringing this scourge to the attention of our politicians and demand that it be changed, that it be fixed, that it be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, that we work towards abolishment of such a practice, of any of these things. And, you know, it's funny, sometimes I'm talking to a group about the issues of the day and things that people are concerned with. And one is, you know, the epidemic we've been going through with COVID, and the issue of wearing masks or not wearing masks, and whether this is an infringement on our freedom. And I often have to come back and say, you know, at the end of the day, you know, all issues are important, but this is an issue when you think about people getting all worked up about that issue. Where is the outrage at what is happening with human trafficking? Where is it? it should be in everybody's forefront of their mind, the outrage of what's happening to these children. And, you know, people are buying these children from all different countries.
Now, I'll tell you what, I was reading earlier when I was doing this. Um, it's happening here in the UK.
Sure.
£125,000 for a 7-year-old child, right? And so what happens is they kidnap these children, right? They put them into a human trafficking ring, right? And what they do is they take pictures out of these children, right? So and what they do is they go like dark girl if she's a dark girl, or if it's like a blonde girl, whatever. And what they do, they take all these pictures, right? Or blonde, blonde and everything, and they kind of like they sell them. Then they sell the person. For this little girl, she was only 7, and she was verbally abused. She was verbally, I can't tell you how what about it, but she was really, really in such a bad way. An innocent 7-year-old girl. What's
Yes.
happening?
I can't even say how extraordinarily, oh my gosh, how extraordinarily devastating it is to really think about the fact that this is happening in our society today. Like I said, people complain about a lot of things today, but abuse and sexual exploitation of our children should be one of the biggest fights that everyone should be engaged in to make sure this is eliminated. I mean, come on. And there are cases
I'll tell
even
you
in the
what. Just
United
give me,
States.
Stace. Just give me a chopper, or an axe. I'll go around like chopping their willies off.
Right. I know. I mean, really, it's to me, it's crazy that people are not. And I think part of it, again, is awareness. We need to all get out there and do something to create the awareness that brings forth some action in the people, the citizens of the world, that they want this done. They want this taken care of. They want it abolished, and they want it eliminated totally, because it's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah. Stace, before we carry on, I've got Norman Setters here, and he's like an MP for the he's an MP for the local area, right? From Onslow in London, right? Now, I don't know if you could hear him, but because he's on the other side of the radio, right? And I'm going to ask him a question. I'm going to say to him, I'm going to say, this is happening in the UK. What are you doing? What measures are you bringing in to kind of like stop all this? Because we got a lot of pedophiles on our streets and in these places. What are you doing, and what the government are doing? Because what I can see at the moment, you're not doing anything. And this is happening around the world. You saw this video just now. This it's not what's going on. There's nothing going on.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot of, um, there's a lot of problems even with the statistics, just because people are so afraid. Girls are so afraid to come forward. And it's not just little girls. There are little boys too that are trafficked. And again, going back to the awareness, there needs to be enough awareness, and parents need to be actively involved in what's happening with their kids, because it's not always kidnapping. Sometimes these kids are, kids go through stages in life where maybe they feel like they're not getting enough attention from their parents or whatever, or they're unhappy in some way, and they become vulnerable to, there are techniques that people use to kind of suck kids in and, make them feel like they care about them and they love them and all this craziness that
I
is not
know.
true. And then
Hang
they
on,
take
Steve. Hang on
advantage
for
of
a
them.
second. Hang on for a second. I know you can't hear this guy, but he's coming back with. He's saying to me, he's nothing to do with any human trafficking or what is normal MP. You might be an MP, but the trouble is, at the end of the day, it's your government who was saying that in the UK, your Conservative government saying in the UK that you're going to do something about it. You, and it was, what was it, last year you even going to say something about it. And it was you yourself who said, what was it? Oh, I will get everybody off the streets, all the prostitution, all the pedos off the streets and everything. And what have we done so far? You've done bugger all, right? And that's it, basically.
So they're working on getting them off the street.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's saying they're going to try to get them off the streets. They're trying to get because there's in London. There's a lot of young prostitution going around.
Sure. Well, the other thing is they're not always on the street. Okay. I mean, these things take places in hotels, in people's
brothels
homes.
everywhere. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So it's not as simple as, there's a prostitution, an area. There are areas like that still today everywhere where there are prostitution standing on the street. But it's also happening in places where it's not so public. And so it's not so easy to find. Then you've got to find, groups like this that go in, like your video, where they go in and bust these places is priceless. In fact, that's one of the first stories I ever saw about Love 146 that they did this. They didn't bust the place at the time. They were actually investigating, and but it's one of the first I heard of doing that kind of thing.
I know. I'll
tell
you what, we gotta end this right now, right?
Okay.
But what we will do, we will come back to this if that's possible. We will come back. I don't know if you're coming. I don't know what you're doing for the rest of the week. If we can fit this in, for a second part, I'd be so grateful because, we need to sort this out and we'll get this MP to come back and answer some questions live on air because I think they've got a lot to answer for this government in the UK.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Sounds good.
So thank you very much, Stacey. And what we'll do, I will contact you in a minute and we can make another interview up and take it from there.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.